Can we just start by getting your name?
My name's Lorraine Ebanks.
And can you spell that out?
Lorraine. Ebanks is Ebanks.
Lorraine Ebanks. Lorraine Ebanks.
Yes.
So I just wanted to start off by asking, as someone from the United Kingdom, what understanding do you have of US politics?
I'd say probably a little bit more than most. I am interested in it first of all, and I have studied a little bit about how the president gets elected and the various workings of the US government.
And was the outcome of the most recent presidential election a surprise to you?
Yes and no. I knew that the economy would play a big part in how people voted. So I knew that Trump had a very good chance, but I still, in my heart, I still hoped that people would remember his presidency of a few years ago, 4 years ago, and vote for Kamala Harris. So there was part of me that was a realist and thought, yes, he did have a chance, but I wouldn't really allow myself to think that he would be voted in again. So it was a bit of a shock.
And where were you in 2016 when he got elected for the first time?
I was in London.
Did you follow that election?
Yes.
And did you see any similarities between 2016 and 2024 in terms of how Clinton ran her campaign?
No, because I think in 2016 that really was a shock. And he really, in hindsight, everybody could see that he'd kind of tapped into this feeling amongst a lot of Americans that they'd been left behind, that government didn't really represent them. And so that came as a shock, a big shock. I remember tuning in on the morning, in the middle of the night when, the votes were coming in, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So that was completely a shock. So this wasn't as much of a shock, but it still was a shock.
And something interesting you said was that sentiment of feeling almost missed by the current administration. Do you think that was repeated again this year?
I don't think it was missed. I think they understood it this time, but I don't really think...
I mean more as a swathe of the electorate that felt that they didn't have a say.
That they weren't represented.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that was the case again. So I think it's not that the Democratic Party weren't aware of it this time round, but I do feel that they didn't have many tools in their armour to kind of combat that feeling amongst a lot of Americans that again they've been left behind, and that the Biden administration didn't really look out for them or didn't really do a lot for them.
And do you know many people in the US?
Quite a few, yes.
And from those who you have spoken to, what do they think about the election?
So most of them are disappointed that Trump got back in, but interesting enough that they all, the people that I'm closest to in the US, they all have different reasons as to why they feel he got in. So I guess they weren't so surprised, but that they all had a different opinion as to the reason that he won.
And do you have any friends who were Trump supporters?
No.
Any family members?
Perhaps one.
And are you close with them?
Yes.
And if you had to summarize why they're in line with Trump's agenda, what would you say?
That's a hard one. I think this particular family member would say that the Democratic Party is probably a little bit too left-leaning, and they want somebody a little bit stronger than the current administration.
And do you think that the Democratic Party in the US now has an overemphasis on identity politics and trying to capture too many different voting demographics within a coalition instead of just focusing on policy?
I think that was the mistake of this particular election, but I don't know if that's really what I would say about the Democratic Party. I probably don't know enough. I'm not as enough informed on that issue. I mean, I think they were behind the 8 ball. They were really scrambling to get their candidate up to speed, and I think they were literally trying to grasp at every single straw they could in order to be successful. But I do think that had they had a stronger argument for policy and what they